Okay, welcome. And this is the week 12 lecture supplement for General Capstone. A couple things about statistics that I just want you to take away from you from this course. I know statistics can be boring at times, but it can also be fascinating. I know you're really skeptical about that, but just the most important things is to understand that you're going to see statistics everywhere. They're not just in scholarly journals. You're going to see them in trade magazines and in the regular magazines you read before you get your hair cut, or if you're like me when you're on the treadmill, something like that. You will always have some kind of statistics that you're going to read. It can be anything from the idea that aspartame causes Alzheimer's. That's one that we hear a lot now these days. But is that really the case? And again, I'm no advocate for aspartame. I think it's poison. However, there is proof, and you'll read this a lot, that there is, let's say, a high correlation between the use of aspartame. For those of you who don't know what aspartame is, it's NutraSweet. It is the main sweetener that is used in most of your Diet Coke. Again, not using a brand, but diet sodas and so forth, you're usually going to use aspartame. A lot of your diet products use it in lieu of sugar. But there is seen to be a very high correlation between the use of aspartame and the development of Alzheimer's. It's a correlation. Now, that does not mean causation. You have to demonstrate other things before you can say there's causation. It has to be a very high correlation plus time, and the causation agent has to come before the results, and you have to see that there are no other possible explanations for it. People who use aspartame are usually more health conscious and as a result live longer. Could it be the fact that they're living longer? Their bodies are healthier, but their minds might not be for various reasons. And in fact, what we think is a causation is just the fact that people who use aspartame are more health conscious, take better care of themselves for the most part, and as a result, they live longer. And because they're living longer with healthier bodies, their minds not be able to handle it. Again, that's just a possible other explanation. You have to rule out other factors. Another thing is your ability to generalize your results. How far can you, based on your sample, generalize to the greater population? It really depends on the variables you're looking at. It has often been said that psychology is the scientific study of the thought, emotion, and behavior of college sophomores. Now, why is that? Because most of the time, most researchers are going to use a sample that is easily available to them. Well, most of them have classes full of students who would like extra credit for participating in some kind of experiment. When I took psychology in 1992, that I did, and again, that's well and good. So that might not even really be a problem as long as the population that you hope to generalize your results to are in fact similar to college sophomores. One of the most famous experiments, or I should say famous experiments that had to be aborted in the middle of the experiment, is the Stanford Prison Experiment. I'm sure you've read about this. There's actually a movie on some of the major movie providers that I'm not going to name them, but you can probably find them if you subscribe to the major ones. I'm not plugging it, but if you are interested, I would commend you to see it. It's fascinating. But again, all of the subjects in that experiment were male, were college students, and they were students attending college at Stanford University around the time of the 1960s and 70s. Think about the social changes that were going on in our society during the 60s and 70s. One of the reasons why Philip Zimbardo, who was the researcher who carried out this experiment, was very interested in what would happen. But again, are those type of individuals different from the general population? If not, then you don't have to worry about it. But think about it. People who go to Stanford usually, especially back then in the 60s and 70s, were upper class, rich for the most part. Student loans were not as prevalent as they were today. We usually did pretty well in school. It's not easy to get into Stanford. um, probably had very liberal attitudes about certain things. A lot of kids, I mean, would the results be different for somebody who was a student at Stanford in 1967? I don't think that was the year of the experiment. I was throwing that year out. Versus somebody who joined the Army and was overseas in Vietnam in 1967. Are there differences, and might those differences have implications for your results? So that's really all I have to say about statistics at this time. But right now I want to talk to you all as students who are about to finish your collegiate studies and go out into the real world. And first of all, I want to commend you. You guys are doing something I know for most of you, you have families, you're returning to college. Many of you probably were not encouraged to go to college. You were told you didn't need to. You were told that perhaps an online college was not as good as a regular college campus. There's a lot of different things that are part of that. What I would say to you, and I want to commend you. I think back to my college experience back when I was 21 years old, when I graduated with my first degree. I was still living at home, commuted to school, and I had a job, but I was a student assistant. So I clerked, as it were. Not a law clerk, mind you, but I did clerical work, which is great. I still keep in touch with my old coworkers. They were actually my college friends because I didn't really venture out much in college. But what I would say to you is you have more challenges than I did. So I take my hat off to you. I respect you all for what you've done. Whatever the years since college have imparted upon me, I did want to give you guys some advice, whatever it is. There's a lot of people in colleges who will tell you that money is just filthy lucre and you shouldn't pursue it, and that's nonsense. You're going to college because you want to make more money. Go out there and make a lot of money. There's nothing wrong with that. The challenge is, what do you do with your money? Do you help others? I always say, and this is something that the entrepreneur Mary Kay Ash once said, Mary Kay Cosmetics, said, what you can't outgive God, and I very much agree with that. Whatever you call God, Allah, Om, Buddha, whatever you call God, the Great Spirit, or even the higher power, you can't outgive him, her, it. You will always get back if you give. May not be immediate, but it will happen. Find something that's near and dear to your heart. I'm not saying that abandon your family responsibilities. See what follows you. Maybe giving means, through your family, through your faith, whatever it is, give as you can, and just try to help others, because we're all kind of put on this planet to do that, I think, in one way or the other. And with that, I take my hat off to all of you. You did a great job, and I look forward to talking with you in the future. Take care.